कृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीनामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So continuing to discuss from the 5th chapter of the 2nd canto called The Cause of All Causes. And in this section that we are discussing, Brahmaji starts to explain how the creation takes place. Out of the 6 questions which were inquired by Narad Muni, the 3rd question was Yatha Srishtim, how this material creation or the process of creation happens. So from the 21st verse, he speaks about the process of creation and what Brahmaji says, that by his own potency, the Lord, who is the controller of all energies, thus creates eternal time. This is the first factor, how creation begins by the influence of the time factor and the fate of living entities and the particular natures. The living entities had accepted and being created again before they had independently merged into him. So again, the creation begins with the day of Brahma, and how the process takes place by the influence of time. The first factor is the time. Further, the second verse it says, kālād guṇa-vyatikaraḥ pariṇāmaḥ svabhāvataḥ karmaṇo janma mahataḥ puruṣa-adhiṣṭhitāt abhūt. After the incarnation of the first Purusha, Kāraṇārṇavaśāyī Viṣṇu, the mahat-tattva or the principle of material creation is generated. And then time is manifested, and in course of time, the 3 qualities appear. That are the 3 gunas. Nature means the 3 qualitative appearance. They transform into activities. We have so many times heard that how the Mahavishnu, he is the first Purusha incarnation. And when he glances, then there is agitation. And what is the agitation? That is the transformation. Guṇa-vyatikaraḥ. And what is the transformation? That from pradhan, which is inert, there is the active principle of the 3 modes by the agitation of Mahavishnu, and it turns into mahat-tattva. By the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, the whole material creation evolves by the process of transformation. So the whole process is the process of transformation. It is called Vyatikaraḥ. And how this Vyatikaraḥ, this transformation comes? By guna. And where are the guna? Under the control of kālāt. See, this is the sequence. Kālāt guṇa-vyatikaraḥ. Under the influence of time, by the effect of the 3 modes, there is transformation. And reactions one after another. And by the same omnipotency, they are wound up again, one after another, and conserved in the body of the Supreme. So after every day of the beginning of Brahma, there is creation, and every night, and the living entity go. Sorry. So I'm reading again. Please put little attention. Try to follow how the process of creation happens. At least theoretically, we should have clarity. By the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, the whole material creation evolves by the process of transformation and reactions one after another. And by the same omnipotency, they are wound up again, one after the other, and conserved in the body of the Supreme. That we have discussed in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the 8th chapter, that after the every beginning of Brahma's day, there is creation. And at the night, there is annihilation. And where the living entities, they wound up. Where the living entities wound up after the day, the night of Brahmaji, where they become unmanifest. Yes, Manoram Prabhu?
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Viṣṇu.
Correct answer. Perfect answer. Garbhodakṣāyī Viṣṇu. And when there is the end of Brahmaji, where do they unmanifest?
That time it is Mahavishnu.
Yes, Kāraṇārṇavaśāyī Viṣṇu or Mahavishnu. Correct. At the end of Brahma, it is Garbhodakṣāyī Viṣṇu. At the day of the end of the Brahma. And when the Brahma's lifespan is spent, then there is complete annihilation. Then all of them go back where? To Mahavishnu. Then mahat-tattva becomes what? Pradhan. Again it becomes inert. Kala or time is synonymous with nature and is the transformed manifestation of the principle of material creation. As such, Kal may be taken as the first cause of all creation. This is the first manifestation of the transformation. What is in the form of Kal? And then by the transformation of nature, different activities of material world become visible. These activities may be taken up as the natural instinct of each and every living being, or even of the inert objects. And after the manifestation of activities, these are varieties of products and byproducts of the same nature. Originally, these are all due to the Supreme Lord. The Vedanta Sutras and the Bhagavatam just begin with the absolute truth as the beginning of all creation, janma adhiṣṭhitāt. Then what are the further transformations? Mahatastu vikurvanad raja sattva upabharvitat tama pradhanastu abhūt dravya jnana kriyatmaka. Material activities are caused by the mahat-tattva being agitated. As first, there is transformation of the modes of goodness and passion. And later, due to mode of ignorance, matter, material knowledge and the different activities of material knowledge come into play. So these are the sequence. Material creation of every description are more or less due to the development of the mode of passion, rajas. Yeah, you all know. To create what is required? Rajas. And to maintain what is required is sattva. And to destroy what is required is tamas. The mahat-tattva is the principle of material creation. And when it is agitated by the will of the Supreme at first, the modes of passion and goodness are prominent. And afterwards, the mode of passion being generated in due course by material activities of different varieties become prominent, and the living entities are thus involved more and more in ignorance. Brahma is the representation of the mode of passion, and Viṣṇu is the representation of the mode of goodness, while the mode of ignorance is represented by Lord Shiva, the father of material activities. Material nature is called the mother, and the initiator for materialistic life is the father, Lord Shiva. All material creation by the living entities is therefore initiated by the mode of passion. With the advancement of a particular millennium, the different modes act by gradual development. How it works, its example is given. In the age of Kali, when the mode of passion is most prominent, material activities of different varieties in the name of advancement of human civilization take place. And the living entities become more and more involved in forgetting their real identity, their spiritual nature. By a slight cultivation of the mode of goodness, a glimpse of the spiritual nature is perceived. But due to the prominence of mode of passion, the mode of goodness becomes adulterated. Therefore, one cannot transcend the limits of material modes, and therefore realization of God, of the Lord, who is always transcendental to the modes of material nature, becomes very difficult for the living entities. Even though they are prominently situated in the mode of goodness through cultivation of the various methods. The gross material elements are adhibhutam. We have discussed what is adhibhut, what is adhibhut, what is adidev, and what is adhiyakya. Their maintenance is adidevam. See, gross material elements are adhibhut, and their maintenance is adidevam, and the initiator of material activities are called adhyatmam. In the material world, these three principles act as prominent features, namely as raw material, its regular supplier, and its use in different varieties of material creation for sense enjoyment by the bewildered entities. Just keep hearing and just try to accept what is being said. Do not try to apply your intelligence, it will completely fail, bewilder, confuse you. You will not be able to make it out. So what is the influence of the first mode? Which is the mode which was prominent? Which mode is said to be prominent in this stage of Kali? Yes, Mansur Prabhu?
Mode of passion.
Yeah, mode of passion. See the further transformation. So ahankara iti prokta vikurvan sambhuhatridha vyakarikas tejasascha tamasascheti yad abhida dravya shakti kriya shakti jnana shakti riti prabhu. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, become known as the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance in three divisions. Namely, the powers that evolve matter, knowledge, and material creations, and the intelligence that guides that material activities. Narad, you are quite competent to understand this. So in the third canto also, Kapildev will explain that how it happens. So the first manifestation is in the form of materialistic ego. And what is this materialistic ego? Or the sense of identification with matter. Ego means false identification. False ego or materialistic ego does not allow one to identify with the real self, that is the spirit soul. It makes us believe and accept that either we are product of matter, is the false body, or our identification is with mind. The materialistic ego or the sense of identification with matter is grossly self-centered, devoid of clear knowledge of the existence of God. And this self-centered egoism of the materialistic living entities is the cause of their being conditioned by other paraphernalia and continuing their bondage of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, this self-centered egoism very nicely explained in the 7th chapter, verses 24 through 27. Anyone remember these verses? 24 to 27 of the 7th chapter. Just talking about the influence of the false ego. Anyone remember some of the verses? Yes, Pradeep.
24 अव्यक्तं व्यक्तं अपन्नं मन्यन्ते मां बुद्धया परं भावम् अजानन्तो मम भूता महेश.
Yes. The first is what this false ego makes. That's Prabhupada is writing. It does not allow one to have the proper understanding or God realization. So what they think? That avyaktam vyaktim apannam. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead is avyaktam, is impersonal. And now that he has assumed the personality, why they are unable to understand the personal feature? Because they do not understand his supreme nature. Param bhavam ajanatva. And Krishna speaking in the next verse, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavita. It is with the influence of the illusionary energy. Where the illusionary energy works? On the false ego. To the extent the false ego is thick, to that extent one's illusion is thin. You cannot come out of the illusion. And then further Krishna says, Ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena maharata. Svabhāvataḥ sammoha. What is sammoham? Illusion. Sarge yanti param tapah. So again and again, they have to rot and repeat in the cycle of sarga, which is creation. Again and again, they have to change body. They have to take birth. The self-centered impersonalist, without the clear conception of the personality of Godhead, concludes in his own way that the personality of Godhead takes a material shape from the original impersonal spiritual existence for a particular mission. As Prabhupada said, avyaktam vyaktim apannam. He takes a material shape from where? From avyaktam, from impersonal spiritual existence for a particular mission. And this misleading conception of the Supreme Lord by the self-centered impersonalist continues, even though he is seen to be very interested in the Vedic literatures, such as the Brahma Sutras and other highly intellectual sources of knowledge. This ignorance of the personal feature of the Lord is due simply to the mixture of different modes. The impersonalist thus cannot conceive of the Lord's eternal spiritual form of eternal knowledge, bliss, and existence. The reason is that the Lord reserves the right of not exposing himself to the non-devotees. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavita. Who even after a thorough study of literature like the Bhagavad Gita remains an impersonalist simply by obstinacy. This obstinacy is due to the action of yogamaya. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavita. A personal energy of the Lord that acts as an aid de camp by covering the vision of the obstinate impersonalist. Such a bewildered human being is described as mudha or grossly ignorant. Mudhoyam na bhijana. Loko mam ajam avyayam. Because he is unable to understand the transcendental form of the Lord. What is that? Loko mam ajam, unborn, and avyayam. That cannot be exhausted or that cannot be changed. If it were true that the Lord takes the form of material shape from his original impersonal feature, then that would mean he takes birth and is changeable from impersonal to personal. But he is not changeable, avyayam. Nor does he even take a new birth like a conditioned soul. The conditioned soul may take a form birth. The conditioned soul may take a form birth after birth due to his conditioned existence in matter. But the self-centered impersonalists, by their gross ignorance, accept the Lord as one of them because of self-centered egoism. Even after so-called advancement of knowledge in the Vedanta, the Lord, being situated in the heart of every individual living entity, knows very well the tendency of such conditioned soul in terms of past, present, and future. But the bewildered soul hardly can know him in his eternal form. By the will of the Lord, therefore, the impersonalist, even after knowing the Brahman and Paramatma features of the Lord, remain ignorant of his eternal personal feature as ever-existent Narayan, transcendental to all material creation. The cause of such gross ignorance is constant engagement by the materialistic man in the matter of artificially increasing material demands. To realize, very important, please hear very attentively. To realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to purify the materialistic senses by devotional service. The mode of goodness or the Brahminical culture recommended in the Vedic literatures is helpful to such spiritual realization. And thus the Jnana Shakti stage of the conditioned soul is comparatively better than the other two stages named Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti. The whole material civilization is manifested by a huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw materials for industrial purposes. And the industrial enterprises Kriya Shakti are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. In order to rectify this great anomaly of materialistic civilization, based on the principles of Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti, one has to adopt the process of devotional service of the Lord by adoption of principles of Karma Yoga mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9:27 as follows: Yad karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhushi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tat puruṣa-adhiṣṭhitāt. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So here in this verse particularly, Brahmaji is pointing about the illusion or ignorance which is the cause. Now, what is the cause? The cause is of self-centered materiality. And in particularly, this is exhibited by the impersonalist, who deny to accept the transcendental form of the Lord. Tasmat api bhūtāde vikurvanād abhūnnābha tasya matra guna shabdo lingam yadrishti drishyayo. From the darkness of false ego, see how the further transformation comes. From the darkness of false ego, that means from mahat-tattva, what is the first gift of the mahat-tattva? Is one's false ego. And when this false ego, it interacts with the different modes, the three different modes. Further, what are the transformations? Here it is mentioned. That from the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Sky is the most subtle form. Its subtle form is the quality of sound. Exactly as the seer is in relationship with the seen. So this is the chronology how the material creation takes place. The five elements, namely sky, air, fire, water, and ether, are all but different qualities of the darkness of false ego. This means that the false ego is the sum total of the mahat-tattva. It is generated from the marginal potency of the Lord, and due to this false ego of lording it over material creation, ingredients are generated for false enjoyment of the living being. Practically speaking, the living being is a dominating factor over the material elements as the enjoyer. Through the background, though the background is the Supreme Lord, factually, save and accept the Lord, no one can be called the enjoyer. But the living entity's false desire to become the enjoyer. This is the origin of false ego. When the bewildered living being desires, the shadow elements are generated by the will of the Lord, and the living entities are allowed to run after them after a phantasmagoria. It is said that the tanmatra, sound is created, and then the sky. And in this verse, it is confirmed that actually it is so. But sound is the subtle form of the sky. And the distinction is like that between the seer and the seen. The sound is the representation of the actual object, as the sound produced when one describes the object gives an idea of the object. Therefore, sound is the subtle characteristics of the object. Similarly, the sound representation of the Lord in terms of his characteristics is the complete form of the Lord, as was seen by Vasudeva and Maharaj Dashrath, the fathers of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. The sound representation of the Lord is not different from the Lord himself, because the Lord and his representation in sound are absolute knowledge. Lord Chaitanya has instructed us that in the holy name of the Lord, a sound representation of the Lord, all the potencies of the Lord are invested. Thus, one can immediately enjoy the association of the Lord by the pure vibration of the sound representations of his holy name. And the concept of Lord is immediately manifested before the pure devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, is not aloof from the Lord even for a moment. The holy name of the Lord as recommended in the Shastras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, may therefore be constantly chanted by the devotee aspiring to be constantly in touch with the Supreme Lord. One who is thus able to associate with the Lord is sure to be delivered from the darkness of the created world. This is a product of false ego. Tasmai ma jyoti bhava. Yeah, there is a very big verse, 26 to 29. I will take it tomorrow. I have some service. I'll stop here. So, this process of creation is being described here by Brahmaji. And through Narad, we are all benefited. So this will be described again and again. In the second canto, there is creation. Then we will come into the third canto, very detailed by Kapil Dev. There is description of creation. So again and again, the topic of creation comes in Bhagavatam. But even after being repeated, a very rare soul who would be able to understand the process of creation. Why? Because it is beyond the realm of human intelligence. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. The first object which comes due to the manifestation of the false ego with the mode of passion, what is it? It is the sound. So what we have to do? We have to change the sound from material sound and connect to the spiritual sound. And that will liberate us. That is what the Vedanta Sutra says, Anavriti Shabdaha. Anavriti. Avriti means covering. What is the covering? What is the covering on the soul? False ego. The subtlemost layer on the soul, which is covering our true identity, is because of false ego. And how that covering can be removed, how it can be anavrita? By shabda. Which shabda? The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna. I stop here. If there is any question or contribution, you must speak. Yes, Madam Surabhu.
Hare Krishna, Babuji.
Hare Krishna.
Babuji, one is internal energy, that is illusory energy, and external energy is Maya.
Yeah.
So, how do they, how do they transform from, one stage to another? Where the illusory energy stops and where the...
See, this material world is under the influence of the external energy, Maya.
Maya.
That is what is being explained here. That is the manifestation of the material energy. And how it works is the mahat-tattva. And from the mahat-tattva, what comes the first manifestation is the form of false ego. And when this false ego, it interacts with the three modes, then there are further transformations. And the first transformation which is coming is the element of subtle element sound. And from sound what comes? The sky. And further, as we discussed, from sky what comes? Air. Then comes fire. Then comes water. Then comes ether. Not ether, earth.
Now, while we were reading, there was somewhere it's coming internal energy, illusory,
No.
as a...
Internal energy is for those who are devotees, who are pure devotees.
Okay.
Now, you see, this entire, that is why Prabhupada gave the reference of Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verses from 24 to 27. It is all talking about those who are under the influence of the illusionary energy. Avyaktam vyaktim apanyam naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritam iksha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata. It is all under the influence of the illusion. What is the center? The center is the self, false ego. Where is the internal energy? Internal energy removes the false ego and establishes the jiva in the true ego, the true identity. What is the true identity? Jivera swarup hoye Krishnera nityadas.
Prabhuji, in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, translation says, I am never manifest to foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by internal potency.
Yeah. Yogamaya samavrita. Yes. Naham
So-
prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritam mudoyam na bhijanati. Yes. The Supreme Lord is covered by the internal potency, but the jiva is covered by the external potency. Don't
Okay.
equate both. The external energy cannot touch the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
It covers whom? It covers the jiva, not the Supreme
Jiva.
Lord. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Manoram.
Just
Yeah.
some clarification,
Inquire.
Prabhuji.
See, that is the only way that we can have some understanding. If we are very keen and we are inquiring, then Krishna will take note of it. That yes, he wants to know. So he may bestow us the understanding. But if there is no attempt, then there is no possibility of knowing. Good.
Prabhuji, what I understood that from Pradhan, first comes the mahat-tattva, and from
Yes,
mahat-tattva
that
first
is how, because of the Purusha incarnation, from the glance of the Mahavishnu. The first Purusha. And how, what is the glance? What here it is equated with? Let me see how much understanding you develop. What is the first factor which transforms, which makes the transformation happen from pradhan to mahat-tattva?
It is the glance of Mahavishnu.
Yes. Then what is the manifestation of that element which makes the transformation possible? Very clear?
Right?
Kālāt, the time factor. Time factor. And with the influence of the time factor, that mahat-tattva, the transformation is there, and what manifests are the three modes. पढ़ो ना, दोबारा पढ़ो. Just read verse number 21 and 22. The translation. Okay. You have further question?
Just connected, Prabhuji. So once from time, the mahat-tattva, and after
No,
that,
it is
Prabhuji.
not like this.
No.
The glance of Mahavishnu makes the time factor become active. This mode of nature, these three material modes, everything acts under the influence of time.
Yes, Prabhuji. So in 24, Prabhuji, I was a little bit confused. 23 and 24. 23 is telling that translation, material activities are caused by the mahat-tattva being agitated.
Yes.
At first, there is transformation of three modes of goodness and
Yeah,
passion.
but where is the three modes coming? After the influence of the time. That is the second
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
First is the time. First is the influence of time. Under the influence of the time, from the mahat-tattva, what manifests are the three modes.
Yes.
So that is the active stage. Before the influence, before the manifestation of the three mode, what it is? It is dormant. It's called pradhan. It is inactive or inert.
Yes, Prabhuji. So then false ego, Prabhuji, how that
Yeah,
false
that is
ego?
the first manifestation. From the mahat-tattva, what is the first element which manifests is the false ego. That is what the three modes, the first gift of the three mode is the false ego. Yeah. When the living entity comes into this material universe, he gets a gift. What is that gift? That is the wrapping on the soul. What is that wrapping? The false ego. What is the false ego? One's false identification with body and mind. And how it further manifest, that is all being explained here. When false ego interacts with mode of goodness, when false ego interacts with mode of goodness, what comes out? What is the manifestation? Mind. When false ego interacts with the mode of passion, what comes out is intelligence. And when it interacts with the mode of ignorance, what manifests is the senses. This is all very nicely explained in the third canto by Kapil, Sankhya Yoga. Some of it will be discussed here also. And we will go, see, the Kāraṇārṇavaśāyī Viṣṇu, material nature pradhan, then mahat-tattva, and from mahat-tattva what is coming, the first gift is the ahankara. Ahankara, here it is being explained as three shaktis. What are the three shakti? Is Karya Shakti, yeah, and Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Dravya Shakti. It is being explained in these three forms. It is a little technical. I have told you, It is very, very rare, very rarest of rare that one can have really clarity to what is what. But nonetheless, we will study here. So what is the best way to proceed? Is to just accept the principle which is given. If you try to argue or if you try to catch the basis or rationality of it, the attempt will be futile. As many times you attempt. But inquisitiveness should be there, interest should be there. Okay? Because to the extent the false ego has dissolved, to the extent one has purified, to that extent only he can. Today also happens to be the disappearance day of Srila Lokanath Goswami. What a personality, what an acharya. Completely devoid of false ego. His entire existence is embodiment of service, surrender, and renunciation. Hare Krishna. Sonika, where are you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just preparing prasad. Actually, few guest has came to my house.
Okay. Yeah, but thank you very much. This is called Lalyam of Shravanam. So it is her birthday today, and she came early morning to receive the blessings of Lord Radha Parshadji. All devotees have wished and prayed for you, Sonika. So you please continue this process of Krishna consciousness with full confidence and enthusiasm. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.